22 minutes past 5. You're with Lou on Drive Time through until 7 o'clock this evening. Now, we often hear here on BBC Radio Solent tales of daring deeds to raise money for charity. Now, some are more extreme than others, and trying to row across the Indian Ocean is probably up there with the most difficult of challenges. But things don't always go to plan, as is the case for Hampshire's James Ketchell. He's here in the studio now with me to tell an altogether different story than he would have hoped for when he set out all those weeks ago. What was the plan then? What were you trying to do, first of all?
So we were trying to set a record. We were trying to row from Western Australia to Mauritius, a distance of 3,600 miles in under 85 days, to try and set a record, and also highlight that having epilepsy or a disability is no barrier to pursuing one's goals.
OK, so that was the plan then.
The plan.
And what was the vessel?
So the vessel, we had a little 5-metre rowing boat, and it was called the James Lewis. So it's pretty small. It's the sort of length of an average car, and that was going to be our home for about 85 days. 85
days. So that was the plan, was it? Over
that
85
was the plan,
days?
yeah. I mean, well, the bigger plan was to get across, raise as much money as we can for our fantastic charities, and raise awareness around epilepsy. That was the focus, but really the icing on the cake would have been the record, yeah.
Why this particular cause, before we get on to what actually happened?
That's a very good question. So my rowing partner, Ash, has had epilepsy almost ever since he was 1 or 2 years old, very, very young. And all his life, people have said to him, you can't do this, you can't do that. So we wanted to show people that with the right mindset, you can do what you want. Everyone has the capability to be who they want to be. And that was really our objective.
OK, so that was the plan then, and you wanted to set this record. Take me back to when it all started.
So this started about 3 years ago. I was literally just about to cycle around the world. And I met Ash. I'm an ambassador for the Scouts. And he said to me, James, I really fancy rowing across the Indian Ocean. And I said, that's a great idea. I fully condone it. And he said, I want to do it with you. And I said, well, look, I'm just about to cycle around the world, but maybe we can pick this up when I get back. But actions speak louder than words. He just quietly went off, started promoting what he was going to do, displaying the actions of someone that really wanted to do this. And when I found out about his background, you know when you get a gut feeling that something's right, it was the right thing to do with Ash. OK,
so the challenge then began. What happened?
Well, we were actually going really well. We were 5 days into the row, and we got caught in an area of low pressure, which is basically where the wind can pick up and the seas really picked up. Now, the boat is designed to handle those kinds of situations, but unfortunately it got a little bit more severe than we thought, and the boat rolled. So on the first time it rolled, we were okay. We just sort of tucked into the cabin. But the second time the boat rolled, it happened very quickly, very violently, and Ash was thrown hard to the other side of the cabin, and unfortunately he hit his head, and at that point it was really a bit of a medical issue that we had, and we had to put safety first.
So what did you do then?
Well, first of all, I remember we were sort of just lying there, and when a wave the size of a 2 or 3 story building smashes down on your boat, it's a feeling that you'll never ever forget. So we activated an emergency beacon, and we coordinated the rescue with Falmouth in the UK and the Australian Coast Guard. They then diverted a 250-metre long, 100,000-tonne crude oil tanker to come and pick us up. Now, bearing in mind, we're in a little boat which is the size of your average car, and we've got to figure out how on earth we're going to climb up this thing. And we've got huge 6-7 metre seas smashing us up against the side of the boat, and I mean, it was quite a frightening experience, something I'll never forget.
What was going through your head at this point? Because I suppose you're also trying to look after Ash, aren't you? He's in a bit of a state.
Yeah, I mean, Ash had unfortunately really hurt his shoulder as well, so he was unable to climb up the rope ladder. So they managed, the crew on board the ship threw down a harness. He got into that, and we sort of tied it up. But there were lots of ropes hanging around where they've been trying to catch the boat and secure us. So he's getting caught up into these ropes, and so he needs to jump off the back of the rowing boat into the water to get clear of everything. So then they hoist him up. Once he was up off the boat, I knew he was okay. I then saw an opportunity just to grab the ladder, and I just grabbed it. As I grabbed it and stepped onto it, the boat just fell away from below me, and I'm left clinging to this rope ladder on the side of this tanker, and I'm thinking to myself, how on earth did this happen?
This is like the plot of a feature film. It really is quite staggering. How long did you have to wait for that rescue then? How long were you in the boat?
Well, we were in the boat for probably about 3 hours. I mean, about 3 hours after we'd activated the emergency beacon.
Was there a worry that nothing would happen? Did you know then at that point that help was on its way and you just had to wait?
Yeah, I knew that help was on the way, but I also knew the bigger challenge was how on earth do we get up onto this tanker? In flat, calm seas, it wouldn't have been an issue at all, but this was just different altogether.
And I suppose there's also the worry that you're going to be seen. I know you've got the beacon, but if you're not quite sure how long you're waiting, and 3 hours, it must have felt like 3 days, surely.
Well, I've got to be honest, it was a long 3 hours.
Yeah.
I felt quite, I mean, both Ash and I were safe in the knowledge that someone is coming to our aid.
Yeah.
But whilst we're waiting for that 3 hours, the boat is still being smashed to pieces by these huge waves. And but the boat's designed to do it. The boat stood up very, very well. It did everything it was supposed to do. It was just very unfortunate how Ash was injured.
So were you confident, though, within those 3 hours that help was going to get there? Because, I mean, when you're seeing the boat deteriorating and you're seeing Ash looking very poorly, there must have been a moment when you're thinking, is this going to end really, really badly?
Yeah, you can't let your mind play tricks on you. Right. And I knew that we had someone coming to our aid. So you need to try and think positively. I think, we were going to be okay. We've got someone coming to us, and that's all. I can't. You start playing out scenarios in your head before they even happen. That's a bad thing. So I was just sort of
I'd be rubbish if I went with you, wouldn't I?
Well, I was just I was sort of preparing myself. What do we need to do in order to get up onto this tanker? How do we communicate with them? How do we set everything up in place so the transition can go as smoothly as possible? Yeah.
So what happens now then? Are you going to try it again?
Oh, gee, you're not the first person to ask that. I would say watch this space. I've got a very interesting project going on next summer as well, which is great. But actually, people can find out more by visiting our website, www.nothingsimpossible.co.uk. And if anyone wants to ask me any questions, my Twitter is @CaptainKetch.
OK, well, yeah, the Captain Ketch is a whole other story, which unfortunately we haven't got time for. Is Ash OK now?
Do you know what? Ash is doing great. He's made a recovery. He's back at work, and he's doing absolutely great.
Right. I think maybe you need to take up gardening or something.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe give it a rest.
Do you need your garden?
I do, actually.
Shall I come round?
It's a really good offer. James, thank you very much indeed. I'm glad it ended brilliantly for you, but what an amazing thing to go through. James is on South Today tonight, actually, 6:30 on BBC One, if you want to hear more about his story. So, yeah, see him on the telly as well.
BBC Radio Solent Travel.